All right, everyone. So, first seminar from me for the series for sleep optimization. Just a quick little disclaimer, the usual things like that. So I thought I'd start with a little bit about myself and sort of what got me involved in all of this. So like many of you, when I was quite young, like 19, I came down with a mysterious illness. I thought it was a cold. It just never got better. So I thought, okay, what's going on here? Went to my regular childhood doctor and they just said, oh no, it's just a cold. But it had been about 3 months at that stage. I didn't quite know what was going on. So I decided to change doctors and she tested me for Epstein-Barr virus, glandular fever. Sure enough, I tested positive. And she said, you just need to rest a lot. You need to cut back on your commitments, rest a lot, and you'll be back to back on your feet in a month or two. But I wasn't, unfortunately. I was quite a long time before I really felt like I could do anything. And I went back to see her and I said, look, I'm not better. Nothing's really changing. I can't really do all that much. She said, okay, well, let's do some more tests. So we did blood tests. We went to specialists. We went to sleep specialists, kidney specialists, rheumatologists, and they were trying to sort of get a diagnosis of either chronic fatigue syndrome or fibromyalgia. But they didn't have any treatments for me for either of those back in those days. So afterwards, she said, look, Steph, I can't really do anything for you. We've hit the end of my sort of my tether. So it's best if you go see someone from another modality. So I went and saw a naturopath. Shortly after I saw an acupuncturist, Chinese herbalist, osteopath. I got down that path and I started to make small improvements. I was starting to be able to have a bit more energy. I didn't need to sleep as much. My pain was slowly going away. I was able to put on a bit more weight that I'd lost, but there wasn't really a silver bullet in any of those, unfortunately. And it wasn't until 2014, about 3 years on from all this, that I found out I had quite bad mercury toxicity from changing my dentist, of all things. And once I started working on that, I really started to get my life back. My pain started going away really quickly. I just felt like I was getting back to me, like I was getting back to the person I was before all of this happened. So along this path, and I'm by no means sort of out of the woods yet. I'm still working, every day diligently, doing my best to improve my health, however I know how, whichever way I can, and in many different ways at the same time as well. And that along that path, that sort of prompted me to study natural health. So I am studying to be a naturopath at the moment. So I'm in my 4th year of my degree, my final year of subjects. I was supposed to start clinic this semester, but obviously that has been pushed back because of the coronavirus pandemic. So that's where I'm at right now. I just want you guys to know that, I've, not to say that every situation is the same, but I understand what a lot of us are going through. And I was speaking to Peter yesterday, and just really, it breaks my heart to see how people like us are sort of treated with mainstream medical system, that we're not really recognized a lot and we're not really looked after. And I want to do my part to look after this community. So that's why I'm here today. So why sleep? I'm not saying why do we sleep. I'm saying why am I talking about sleep? The reason being, I think it's just really foundational to health. We really, I think everyone can tell like how they feel after a good night of sleep and a poor night of sleep. It is, pun intended, a night and day difference, really. Why is it important? Well, during sleep, what happens? We rejuvenate, we recover, we restore our function, we detoxify our brain. We need it to ensure adequate functioning of our immune system. We need it to ensure that we're not really sensitized to pain. We need it to ensure we have adequate energy levels. It actually improves our body composition. I know that when I have a shit sleep, and it still happens every so often, of course, no one's perfect, of course, just everything's worse, So if we can do whatever we can to improve our sleep, I think we're going to recover quicker, and we're going to be able to deal with what we're going through as well a lot better, with a lot more ease and grace. Now, this picture, of course, is not how I fully sleep. There's no point sleeping with the glasses on, but I just had a little funny one there. So on the flip side, the consequences of poor sleep. Well, if you think about all the benefits, when we have a poor sleep, we are obviously not getting those benefits. And I think most of us know how it feels when we have a poor night's sleep. It doesn't feel great. We feel a bit more lethargic, a bit heavier, a bit, just a bit more emotional even, and just willing to, all those sort of quote unquote negative traits are amplified, really. And then we've got this issue that poor sleep can be a vicious cycle. When we think about it, if we're used to having poor sleep every night, and we wake up and we're tired and we don't feel great and we're in pain, then we get stressed out. And then it's coming to nighttime again, like, oh my God, am I going to be in bed tonight, not being able to sleep again? Is it they're going to happen all over again? And on the flip side, when we're having a great night's sleep, it really is like a positive feedback loop for our motivation and drive. Like when I feel great, I'm more inclined to, do the things I know that are going to help me. Whereas if I have a poor night's sleep, as counterintuitive as it is, I'm less inclined to do all those beneficial practices that I do. So what actually does a good night's sleep look like? So we've got a few key points here. We've got latency. So how long does it take you to get to sleep? Ideally, we want to be getting to sleep in less than 20 minutes, okay? Less than 15 to 20 minutes. If you're getting to sleep in less than 5, obviously that indicates you may have a few more issues, but in general, less than 20, less than 15, 20 is a great metric there. The duration, how long do you sleep for? Now, I know when I was quite unwell in the beginning of my illness, I was sleeping, 10, 12, 14 hours most days. I wouldn't say this sleep was really a great quality of sleep, but I know I was in bed for quite a long time, just sort of drifting in and out quite often. But duration, I'm not going to put a number on it. I think it really varies per person. If you are going to bed, with the sun going down and you're waking up with your natural body clock without an alarm, your body will tell you how long you need to sleep for. And for us, like people who are going through chronic illness, we need more sleep. Like with high-level athletes, they need more sleep as well because they are breaking down their body quite a lot. Then we look at sleep maintenance. So are we sleeping right through the night, or are we going to be having these periodic wake-ups? Okay, the less wake-ups, the better, obviously. Then we talk about the phases. So how much REM are we getting? Rapid eye movement sleep, that's where we dream. How much deep sleep? That's that really rejuvenative, restorative sleep where we secrete growth hormone, where we improve our sensitivity to insulin. These are both really important metrics for sleep as well. And then consistency. How often are we actually having this good sleep? Is it, once every blue moon? Is it all the time? These are things we all need to look at. So just a little bit of physiology for us, if anybody is interested. So to try and get a good night's sleep, here are some really basic things we need. We need more GABA, we need more melatonin, we need lower cortisol, more adenosine. We need to also stabilize our blood sugar. Now, what are all these things? So GABA is one of our primary inhibitory neurotransmitters. So what that basically means, it's like the brake pedal. It just calms us down. It puts us into that relaxed nervous system state. Then we've got melatonin, and most of us know this as a sleep hormone. We need adequate levels of melatonin to help us. Familiar with cortisol here. In general, we want to be decreasing cortisol as we get closer to bedtime. Cortisol is that fight or flight hormone that gets us, ramped up, ready to run essentially, or to fight. Our ancestors would have had a great need for cortisol if they were being chased by a tiger or something. Now, we're not being chased by a tiger anymore, but we have work deadlines, we have family stress, we have financial stresses, we have illness, of course, and even some of the bugs that we may have in us, they can obviously trigger this cortisol response. So it can be a bit tricky there. Then we've got adenosine. So this is another neurotransmitter. And the more adenosine we have, the more sleepy we're going to get. That's basically it. And something like coffee actually blocks the receptors for adenosine. So that's why part of the reason why it can be so hard to fall asleep after we've had coffee. And then blood sugar. Why are we talking about blood sugar? The simple fact is that if we are going to bed and we have a blood sugar crash throughout the night, what our body actually does is it pumps out cortisol and adrenaline. Okay, the reason for that is when blood sugar is low, we pump out cortisol and adrenaline. We actually increase our blood sugar, so we don't have a hypoglycemic or a low blood sugar attack. So that's why that's part of the reason why we may wake up in the middle of the night. It could be blood sugar related, could be anything really, it could be so many things really. That's just a really basic overview. So we talk about sleep a lot, and we might go on the internet and say, like, what do I need for sleep? We might think about magnesium, we might think about valerian, or think about sleeping tablets. But I think the most important factor is often overlooked, and I'd say the most important factor is our circadian rhythm. So our circadian rhythm is our 24-hour body clock, and it's one of the ways our body figures out what time it is. So by being exposed to light throughout the day, and I'm talking about sunlight, as best we can. Of course, I know a number of us can't get outside during the day, and I'm not saying this is the only way to do it, but I think it's a really important way to do things if we can. So if we're able to expose our eyes and our body to sunshine throughout the day, we're telling our body, hey, it is daytime right now. Let's secrete daytime hormones. And on the flip side of that, when it's nighttime, we need to do our best to restrict light, okay? So that may be either turning off the lights in the house and reverting to candlelight. It could be using something like a Himalayan salt lamp, which reduces a lot of the blue light. It could be wearing, like I've got down here, our blue blocking glasses. So these glasses here, they emit a lot of the blue light coming to our eyes. So it tells our body that the light we're seeing is sort of like firelight. So it's not okay, let's say if we didn't have the glass on, we have light exposure at nighttime, we're telling our body the sun is still out. So if the sun's still out, why is our body going to be wanting to sleep? Okay, why is it going to want to secrete melatonin? It's not going to. By putting on these glasses, and I don't know if anyone's actually used any of these, but I noticed when I started using these blue blocking glasses, I just felt like my sleep improved so much. It was so much easier to get to sleep. It was so much easier to have a deeper sleep as well. And these ones don't look too bad as well. I've had my fair share of blue blocking glasses over the years, and these are by far the sort of most stylish ones I have. So just to summarize that, light exposure is, in my opinion, the most important factor for sleep. Sunlight in the morning and throughout the day, and at night we want to restrict our light. Okay, so what can we do? Like I said, get that sunshine in the morning. Another aspect we can use is to ground ourselves. So that is pretty simply just getting outside and touching the earth with our bare hands or our bare feet at some stage during the day. That's another way we can anchor our circadian rhythm. Like I mentioned, our blue blockers, they're very important in today's day and age, in my opinion. So the way I do it, I don't know if you guys can see me right now. I've got like some glasses on, and they've got like a little yellow tint to them. And then as it gets closer to dusk, I put my orange clip-ons on. And as it comes nighttime, I put my red ones on. Now these ones block out a lot more light. Avoid technology for at least an hour before bed. I'm no saint here. I often violate this rule myself. I'm not perfect. But I noticed that when I do avoid technology for at least an hour before bed, I have much better sleep. So there's a twofold reason for that. One is obviously the blue light we get emitting from our phones, our laptops, our television, things of that nature. The other part is it can be quite stimulating, of course. Unless we're watching something that's a lot more sort of calming or mellowing, most of the stuff we're going to be looking at can be quite stimulating to our body. And then a sleep mask. I found that to be just really, really fantastic. I used to have blackout curtains in my room, but unfortunately, I DIY'd them. And then when summer came around and the weather started heating up, I realized I had this horrible off-gassing smell. I was just really sort of being bathed in this chemical soup in my room, and I couldn't breathe, I couldn't sleep. So I thought, what can I do if I don't have these blackout curtains? So I opted for a sleep mask, and ideally one that covers your whole face as well. And then we have to look at optimizing our bedroom. Now, this is obviously difficult for a lot of us. I know I've been to the stage where I was bedridden, and sometimes we just want to, have our bed as our whole sanctuary, and we do the best we can. So take what you will of this, I suppose. Like I said, blackout curtains are a fantastic way to block out light in the room. Using a Himalayan salt lamp, it doesn't take out all the blue light, but it takes out a big chunk of the blue light compared to just having like a regular desk lamp. No lights in the bedrooms. And this is a really important one. So this includes like our alarm clocks, especially if they've got like a bluey greeny color. Those are going to be quite disruptive to sleep. Other things might be just having a laptop in bed or laptop in the room, which even the chargers emit some light at night. So whatever lights we can find in the bedroom, even like air filters, as beneficial as air filters are in the bedroom, if we can just even put like some tape over the light on the air filters, like on the button, that'll be doing us quite a big favor. Okay, so limiting light exposure in the bedroom is really fantastic. Another thing I think is really quite important, which is starting to be spoken about more and more, is EMFs, or electromagnetic fields. So when possible, if we can, I would say do your best to turn off all the electronics in your bedroom and in the house, like as close to your bedroom as you can. I suppose that's the best idea. I have a friend who tracks his sleep, and him and his partner decided to actually put a circuit breaker in their bedroom so they could turn off all the power to the room, and their sleep score just went through the roof. It was just again, pun intended, night and day difference on how well they were sleeping. Our Wi-Fi router is quite important here. Now I know that like a lot of us, if we can't get out of bed, of course, we want to be, at least having something to do. So we stay on our phones, we use our Wi-Fi. But what we can also do is I've just gone to Bunnings and got one of these really simple timer devices where the Wi-Fi turns off at a certain time throughout the night. So that might be between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m., for instance. and you don't have to worry about forgetting it or anything like that. It just does it all for you. So obviously this depends on who you're living with. I know my brother, he will always turn off that thing at any given chance, but at least having it there some of the time is doing me some favor. And then the last thing, which is a bit more sort of on the, the woo-woo side of things, clearing the clutter. I think a lot of us notice a difference when we have our bedroom that is just, free of clutter, really just free of as much of the stuff that we don't need. And this is really true of all our environments, really. So, we hear this thing, clear desk, clear mind. Same thing with our bedroom. If we're able to clear our bedroom as best we can and have, clear energy flow, clear feng shui, I think it's going a really long step to improving our sleeping environment and therefore our overall sleep. So I did speak about magnesium really briefly before, and it's really just such an important mineral in our body. It's not just the sleep mineral, it's not just the stress mineral, it's involved in over 300 enzymatic processes within the body. Okay, so let that sink in. It's over 300 enzymatic processes. And how does it pertain to us? Well, sleep, like I said, stress. Okay, it's really good at dulling the stress response. It's really important as well for producing ATP or energy. And then as well, it's really, really important for muscle relaxation. So this is really important for us, those of us that are stressed and wound up all the time and just really tense and hold a lot of the tension in their muscles. Having adequate magnesium can really go a long way to helping that. So we've got our food sources. We've got our green leafy vegetables, quite high in magnesium. We've got avocado as well, which everyone loves. And we've got cacao, so our dark chocolate. And then we've got nuts and seeds. Some of those are quite high in magnesium as well. And then on the supplemental side, so like with all supplements, there are some good ones and some bad ones. And then there are different forms as well. So we don't just take magnesium by itself, because that would literally just be a rock, a chunk of mineral, but the magnesium is often bound to something else. So these are some of the supplemental forms of magnesium that tend to be quite beneficial. My favorite is magnesium glycinate, the first one listed. And the reason for that is, well, there's quite a lot of reasons actually, but the two main reasons is, one, it's very bioavailable. So we actually, when we're taking in supplements, we sometimes don't take in everything from that supplement. And magnesium is quite a good example. So we can have examples like magnesium oxide and things like that, which don't get absorbed very well. Whereas magnesium glycinate, that absorbs quite well. And additionally to that, magnesium glycinate has, as the name would imply, the molecule glycine, or the amino acid glycine. Now, the amino acid glycine, it functions sort of like GABA. It's one of those inhibitory neurotransmitters in the brain, so it helps to calm us down. This doesn't mean that we only need to have this form of magnesium at nighttime. It can really be beneficial to have at any time of the day, really, because as a society, we tend to be quite magnesium deficient. And people with chronic illnesses, I think also we tend to be quite deficient in magnesium as well. In Sarah Myhill's book, like the chronic fatigue syndrome one, she mentions that people with chronic fatigue syndrome really struggle to just get magnesium in. Even if they're taking a lot, they just struggle to get it into their cells. So it's quite an important one. Then we've got taurate, L-threonate, citrate. Taurate's similar to glycinate. It's quite well absorbed. And it also is bound to taurine, which is an amino acid that also has that calming down effect, that inhibitory effect like GABA. Then we've got L-threonate, which also crosses the blood-brain barrier. So quite important. That can be a really good one to use before sleep. And then we've got vitamin D. So vitamin D, we know, we're hearing a lot about it now because of the immune system aspect. We're coming into winter, so we're not getting as much sunlight as well. So vitamin D is going to be, our vitamin D stores are probably going to be diminishing unless we're supplementing. We're making a really strong effort to get outside during the day. But the timing, if we are taking like supplemental vitamin D, the timing of it is quite important. Earlier in the day tends to be best. A lot of people often note that if they take vitamin D before bed, they don't sleep as well. And that can be to do with how it regulates circadian rhythm. There's also the important thing to note that low vitamin D is associated with poor sleep quality, but it's not 100% clear why just yet. It could be some of those circadian elements though. So what do we do for vitamin D? Well, we have it in foods, but foods are not our best source by any means. The best way we can get vitamin D is exposure to sunlight. Now, we are coming to winter in Melbourne, in Australia rather, and the window we have for actually making vitamin D from the sunlight is getting smaller and smaller. So we can get something like the D-Minder app on your phones, and I've got a little handout for you guys to take after this. So the D-Minder app, and that just tells you when you can actually make vitamin D from the sunshine. So right now it's about 10:30 to 2:30 or 10:30 to 2 p.m. those are the hours we can actually make vitamin D from the sun. And then we've got cod liver oil and other vitamin D supplements too. Okay, thank you all for listening. I know I'm going through quite a lot. Adaptogenic herbs, these have been a staple in my routine, in my health practice for a number of years now, probably since late 2014. So the way these adaptogenic herbs work is they quite simply just help modulate our stress response. So if we are overstressed, they help calm us down. If we are not expressing enough cortisol, enough of that stress response, they help to bring us up. So they're more balancing than anything else. So we've got herbs like ashwagandha, which is a traditional Ayurvedic herb. It lowers stress and it helps us also potentially to speed up falling asleep. The name, like the Latin name for ashwagandha is actually Withenia somnifera, and the somnifera part means like to sleep. Then we've got another herb, holy basil, and that's like ashwagandha. It's another calming herb, and it also reduces stress. Reishi, so the picture up here, this sort of avian-looking mushroom. So it's a tree mushroom. It's really revered in traditional Chinese medicine as a herb that just really has a number of uses. They say it calms the spirit, it lowers stress, it assists relaxation. It's really got strong antiviral properties. So if I had my time over again and got diagnosed with glandular fever, I'd definitely be hopping on the reishi. That's just it's actually a staple in my routine quite now as well. Schisandra is another traditional Chinese herb. Like reishi, it's one of those sort of broad acting herbs. In traditional Western herbalism, we tend to think of it as a liver herb. And it has quite a lot of beneficial effects on improving detoxification. And it's also quite a calming herb as well. And then we've got cordyceps up here, this sort of funny looking fungus in the top right corner. Another Chinese herb. It contains adenosine, which we mentioned before, which can actually help promote
the sound is gone.
Sorry. We've got skullcap lateriflora. Then we've got passion flower, valerian, chamomile, lemon balm. We've got many, many sleep-friendly herbs. Do we have to take all of these? Certainly not. They're all sort of beneficial in their own way, and they can be used as standalones. They can be used together as well. On the supplemental side, we've got a few things we can consider taking too. So we've got L-glycine. So I mentioned glycine briefly before when I was talking about magnesium. Same thing with taurine and magnesium, obviously. Then we get into things like liposomal melatonin. Now, if we're doing everything right, we will be producing our own melatonin, but unfortunately, sometimes it's not enough. Sometimes, we don't get our blue blockers on at nighttime, or sometimes we, get exposed to a bit more light than we want. So I often have this melatonin on my bedside table in case I know I haven't done everything I can do to have a great night's sleep. Melatonin is also quite important for us to help us to detoxify our brain. So it enhances what's called glymphatic drainage, which was only really discovered, I think, around 2016, 2017. So it's part of the way our brain detoxifies, and sleep is a really, really important way. Then we've got L-theanine. So this is a compound found in green tea. I don't know if anyone's had this one, but it is another calming supplement. People often mix it with their coffee, actually. And the reason for that is it sort of takes away that jittery edge from having coffee, from the caffeine. Then we've got phosphatidylserine. I've never experimented with this myself, but heard very good things about it. Can actually lower cortisol when people are under stress, and it seems to also speed up physical recovery and also improve sleep quality. Then we've got this supplement, Bulletproof Zen Mode. It contains a lot of these adaptogens I mentioned before. It contains a lot of other compounds that can also assist in sleep. But because there are so many things in there, like with anything really, I think it's a good idea to take this under supervision, really. So foods, what can we do? Well, I think the best thing to start with is to avoid alcohol close to bed. Now, a lot of us think, oh, I'm having alcohol, I actually get to sleep faster. We do actually doze off quicker, but the quality of our sleep is severely hampered there. So we may not actually be getting very good sleep. In terms of eating, I think it's best to avoid food too close to bedtime. But everyone's different. So I find that if I'm eating about 2 to 3 or 2.5 to 3 hours before bed, I do quite well. If I'm eating, an hour and a half before bed, I have to really make sure the meal is quite small, or else I won't be sleeping great. I get that, that I don't have great digestion all the time, especially at nighttime, I've noticed. And so if I'm going to bed on a full stomach, I can get reflux, which obviously just really wrecks my sleep and doesn't feel great. But that all being said, if you are going to eat something anyway, there are some little things we can do. So there was a small study a few years ago looking at having 2 kiwi fruit before bed. And funny enough, it actually just improved how long they slept for and the quality of their sleep and how long it took them to get to sleep. Then we've got something like bone broth, which is rich in glycine, which we spoke about before. That can be just another nice one to have, just something to sip on, and it tastes quite nice. And then raw honey as well. So if we're someone who struggles with blood sugar crashes and frequent wake ups throughout the night, raw honey may be a benefit in that situation. Nearly at the end, guys. Thank you all for listening. So we've got some other practices to consider. So weighted blankets. So I know a lot of people have tried this out. I definitely tried it out. It's a bit hit and miss for me. Sometimes I find that when I use a weighted blanket, I sleep great. Other times it actually would exacerbate some pain. So what I have found though is if I'm having like a lie down in the middle of the day, or if I'm using like my PEMF mat, using the weighted blanket really just helps me calm down quite a lot quicker. So is it for you for sleep? Maybe, maybe not. I don't think you'll know until you try it out. But a lot of people swear by it. Having a pre-bedtime schedule, I think that's really important. So doing that same thing every night to get you ready to sleep. So whether that be, starting with, maybe turning off the TV, starting to read a book, brushing your teeth, whatever it is for you, but just the consistency trains our brain to know that, okay, we're getting ready for bed, getting ready to go to sleep now. Meditation, I found this to be quite an important part of my life, really, to help with mitigating stress, and in doing that, to really improve most aspects of my life, including sleep. We've got other practices like yoga nidra, and I really like this one. It's, I suppose with a lot of us, exercise is something that a lot of people with chronic illnesses really struggle with, and I am no different still, despite improving quite a lot. So doing yoga nidra, it's just, it's that sleepy time yoga. You're lying down, the teacher's sort of guiding you through a meditation almost, and it's really quite relaxing. So some people use that to get to sleep. Some people use that in the middle of the day to sort of, use it in place of sleep almost as well. Then we got mouth taping. Now I know a lot of people will be hesitant for this, but I'll briefly explain what it does. By taping our mouth overnight, we're actually preventing ourselves from breathing through our mouth. Now, I know a lot of us will probably tend to be mouth breathers, whether we're conscious of it or not. And the issues with that is obviously we can increase our chance of snoring. We can also increase our chance of dry mouth. We can then also increase our activation of the sympathetic nervous system, which is our sort of fight and flight nervous system. By breathing through our nose, we're tapping into that parasympathetic nervous system, that rest and digest, the one that helps us calm down, get into that Zen state before bed. Another really interesting one is raising the head of the bed. Now, this sounds kind of crazy, but the reason for this is, like I mentioned before about this glymphatic drainage idea, if we have raised the head of our bed, we actually drain this glymphatic fluid from our brain a lot easier during sleep. So we're improving our detoxification there. So again, my friend was making a joke that when he started, he just went straight to 20 centimeters, and he felt like him and his partner were sliding out of the bed almost every night. So I just started quite low, like just 5 centimeters raising it, and that was quite beneficial for me. Then we've got things like PEMF therapy. So that's pulse electromagnetic field therapy. And me and Peter have spoken about this a little bit. Actually, Peter bought the mat that I'm using as well. So it's a mat that delivers frequencies to the body. So it has a number of benefits. I think it's really a fantastic piece of technology for people with chronic illnesses. It improves energy production. It improves circulation. It can, some different devices can improve sleep as well for the different settings. I've just found it to be really helpful for me overall, like decreasing pain, improving energy, improving strength as well when I have been able to train. I can't really rank it highly enough, to be honest. And I've got a number of articles on my website that talk about PEMF therapy. And then one final one for now is this Shakti mat. So a lot of us will have seen this on Facebook ads, for instance. It's like a mat on the floor which has all these little spikes on it that are designed to stimulate our acupressure points. So the idea is you go on that and you might feel it quite a bit, uncomfortable, but then once you're able to breathe into it and calm down, your body is able to calm down and you get to sleep much easier. A lot of people know. Like a few other things, I haven't actually tried this out for myself. A lot of people have sworn by it though, but I can't really comment either way on my own personal experience for that.